Y'all ready to blaze away or what?
The hype leading up to Tekken 8's release was incredible. Before the game released to the public, it was racking in 9 out of 10s and 10 out of 10s across the board. You have so many news articles giving this game an amazing review. If you look at Tekken 8 stacked up in comparison to the other Tekken games, this is where it gets pretty wild because we all have our own ideas of how good each Tekken game was. Some people say Tag 2 the best, some people say Tekken 4, 5, 3, 7, 8, etc. But look at the reviews. Tekken 8, 90 out of 91. Meanwhile, right next to it, the game that broke all the records, 82. But then when you go all the way back to Tekken 4, 79. Tekken Tag Tournament 2, 86. Tekken 3, 96, 89 for Tekken 2. With all of the momentum built up from Tekken 7 and just the marketing campaign of Tekken 8, they sold 2 million copies in the first month. This is a known fact. Everyone celebrated this. And then when you fast forward to the end of the year, Tekken 8 won Best Fighting Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Now, by this time, a lot of players were kind of sick to their stomach of this game. Some people love it, some people hate it. For Tekken 8, there is a good game in there somewhere, but the game that we're dealing with now, balance insane, damage is high, characters outrageous. The Oki situations in this game is as brutal as they have ever been, in my personal opinion. So when a lot of people seen Bandai Namco with a fighting game of the year for Tekken 8, we were like, wow, like they don't even have to try to get an award. That kind of sucks. But also you could talk about the lack of competition for this year. Even though fighting games is as stacked as they ever were, this year Tekken 8 only released with a couple other games, and Sparking Zero is one of them, which had a massive fall off. So it makes sense why Tekken 8 was given that award. But it doesn't stop there. Tekken 8 has just won another award, Fighting Game of the Year, again at the DICE Awards. Now, this marks the first time in 23 years that Tekken has won an award. Tekken 4 being the last game in the franchise to win a DICE award. Now, they also have a message for players. We'll get to that in just a second. But this DICE award is no small thing. The equivalent to this would be like the Oscars or something. So it's a very prestigious award. And Tekken 8 cleaned up house. Their competition this time around was once again Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, but also Mortal Kombat's DLC, which according to that insider, Chaos Reigns performed horribly. Now, there was another game there as well, like Urban something. I can't remember the name. It was so obscure, but maybe one of you guys are like, wow, Tekken 8 shouldn't have won and they should have gave it to Urban Legend or whatever, right? But Tekken 8 is basically on a roll when you look at all of the accolades it's receiving. So when you look at what this is a representative of Bandai Namco. Harada and Michael Murray, they weren't there in person to receive the award, but he is basically speaking on behalf of Bandai Namco. So you have this person on stage who wins the award and then goes up and starts to share a little bit of details about the game. And I want to break it down.
I've got a few words from the Tekken team, our global Tekken team. We've taken bold steps by resurrecting legendary characters, and we're thrilled to have a lot more content to come for Tekken 8.
So that's the first time where he mentioned the future, season 2, right? One, resurrected bold characters, that's really talking about Heihachi, and maybe it speaks to how big of a role Heihachi has played in the growth of Tekken 8. And this really does speak to the tragedy that the stage DLC was. That Heihachi update was actually pretty decent, even though some people didn't like the story. Story is always relevant with fighting games, so I'm told, right? But the stage DLC was a huge blemish on what that reveal could have and should have been. Now, what they also say is how they have a lot more content to come with Tekken 8. Players all have their expectations for what characters would be there, and I think for the first time we're kind of speaking the same tune. Armor King is a certain. We all kind of agree on that one, but then when you take the next step and you talk about character 3, character 4, that's when opinions differ a little bit. You have the Julias, you have the Miguels, the Bobs, Kunimitsu, Marduk, Thakramram, Bruce, so many ideas for what the third character should be, but then the final character, I think we all are still under the idea that it once again will be a guest character. So, you know, if you do Anna, Armor King, and then some third character, then guest character, it's very limited. every other character is going to be kicked out to season 3, which is crazy to think about, which is why players are throwing around the idea of do like Tekken 7 did and give 6 characters. Now, I'm not fully on board with that idea, but I understand it. I get it. But then also when you talk about more content that Tekken 8 is doing, you can look back at some of the things that Harada said in the past. He said he would add team battle if people requested. Currently, there's a huge discussion going on right now with team battle. You can also talk about Mokujin. You could talk about other game modes. Harada also said in the past that if the Tekken Lounge is successful, they want to do an expansion for it. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely consider the Tekken Lounge a success. Not only is it filled to the brim every time I go in there, but everyone's always buying and wearing those avatar skins. So in my opinion, they should expand it and they should add more features to it. There's so many ideas out there. I have other videos where I cover those ideas, but Tekken 8 has endless possibilities, and I love that the developers are open and willing to add these things because there's so much more you can do in terms of building out this game and making it like a full-on experience. But let's continue with this.
This year, we also had our best Tekken World Tour.
Now, I don't know the numbers. They haven't released the numbers, but I know in the past, especially with Knee and Arslan rivalry being at an all-time high, I believe it was like 2019 or something like that. That was the all-time record for Tekken on Twitch, which was 222,000 viewers concurrently. But to say that this year's Tekken World Tour is the best ever, I mean, it's hard to believe because it was kind of a sleeper. It feels like there's not that many tournaments going on anymore, and also with how bad Tekken 8 bouncing is, when you do watch a tournament, you just see Dragunovs, Jin Kazamas, and Nina Williams cooking. But if we continue once more,
the message we want to send to our community is that it is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come for Tekken 8, and we can't wait to share it with you.
I hope this means what we think it means. I posted this to Twitter as well, and there was like a lot of mixed reviews. Some people were like hyped over the idea that Tekken 4 was the last game that won this war. Some people were shocked. When they talk about adding stuff, you know, referring to season 2, I hope they're not just talking about characters, skins, and then calling it a day. I would love for this game to really go above and beyond and deliver a satisfying game that's worthy of all of these awards and nominations and great review scores that they're getting. It's sad when you see the players so angry, but yet the video game itself is showered with praises. But regardless, great news for Tekken 8. The fact that Tekken 8 is winning all these awards, it is getting all these great reviews, that will just show Bandai Namco that the game deserves to live. Because there's a lot of games that does poorly and they get canceled. We talked about that just recently with Bandai Namco and how they've been doing that all over the place. So these type of awards will make them realize that like maybe Tekken 8 should continue going on a little bit more. And something else that I do have to bring up as well is that in a couple of days, it will be a full year since Tekken 8 has sold 2 million copies, and they have still not sold 3 million copies. I don't agree with the idea that they're waiting for some mysterious reason, because if you think about it, they had a couple of great opportunities to talk about their sales. One, just randomly on Twitter like they always do, but then you have 2 very prestigious Game Awards events where they could have flexed their sales and their player numbers, but they, as some people think, chose not to do so. Me personally, I don't think that's the case. When they reach 3 million copies sold, they will announce it immediately. And the fact that they haven't done so just yet means that the game is still on that journey to reaching these milestones. You know, and something that people always say for Tekken 7 is that Tekken 7 didn't get going until season 2. So with season 2, this is it. This is what people are waiting for. So we'll see whether or not Tekken 8 lives up to players' expectation or if it falls, because they're winning a lot of awards, but those awards means nothing if your game ends up being trash with no player base, right?